Welcome to this episode of Twin Talk.
Wow.
We almost had it.
Hey everybody, this is Joni.
And I'm Cindy.
And this is
Twin Talk. We're identical twins, but even though we look alike, we are very different.
I live in Washington.
And I live in Alabama. But we both have very different careers. I run newspapers.
And I'm in the nuclear industry. Even with those different careers, we both have been very successful.
And we've both had some setbacks. So even though we live on separate sides of the country, we are going to use technology to bring us together to talk about a lot of the things that we really like.
Things that we find important, like professional development,
And leadership,
mental health,
parenting.
and some of our hobbies.
So please join us for Twin Talk. Hi, I'm Cindy Fisher and I'm an identical twin. I just feel like starting all of my videos off that way. I don't know.
This is the episode we're going to talk about being twins. We're going to talk about the paths our lives have taken and some of the similarities that amazingly we've had in our lives, even though we've been thousands of miles apart. But yet we've had a lot of similar things happen in both our careers and our personal lives, and I look forward to sharing that with you so that you can also find many things along our own paths that you'll likely relate to too. Part of building the community that we're building with Twin Talk is for us to come together, share, and discuss these topics that are both important to us, and we know they're important to you too. So let's get started.
I always call myself the surprise child or oops baby, as many people call it.
This was before ultrasound, so our mom didn't know that she was having twins until 3 days before she had us. I guess we just were really active. One very active, very large baby.
So I kind of feel like, because Joni came out first, you know, cesarean, when they took me out, too, that one was the oops child, which means that's me.
So that made me the oldest by 1 minute.
We share birthdays, we share genes, well, literally and figuratively.
If we didn't dress exactly the same outfit, we would have the same outfit but different colors of the same outfit.
I had the shirts on one rack, and she had the pants in her closet, and then I had the lingerie cabinet that had our underwear and socks in it. And yes, we shared underwear. Of course it was clean. I mean, we never thought that was icky until we told people that, but I guess I'm not really supposed to mention that, but I just did. I want to tell you where I am right now. I am on the Alabama River here in Selma, Alabama.
Today, I'm in my backyard in Richland, Washington.
So people ask us often about the last 25 years and how close did we stay over the years as we were pursuing careers and live far away, since I already still live really far away. When we first graduated college, we both started moving all over the country. Sorry. It's just Alabama at its best.
Because, you know, we've been apart since we were 19, so 18, 19, so we've lived apart and done our own thing and had different roommates, and then she got married first, and that was really challenging because it's kind of like, you know, you've got your other half that has always been that other half, you're giving over to somebody else and saying, you better take good care of her. First husband actually asked me first before he proposed.
Do you remember the time that he called and you were in Auburn and you answered the phone and he talked to you for a while?
Oh, yeah.
He ended up going, I love
you.
And we were like, well, I love you too.
I mean, you know, you're all right. I forgot about that. He thought it was you the entire conversation, and I was just me. He didn't catch on at all.
We both started moving around the country to pursue our careers. I think we both respected one another for our ambitions, and we knew that even though it took us far apart, that we would never let the distance keep us from being close.
And we would share in each other's fun locations. So when I lived in Connecticut, you came, we went to New York City and got to play around in New York City. And when I lived in Daytona, you'd come to the beach with us. And when you lived in Vegas, I mean, we've lived in some fun places, so we made it work. But sometimes we would not see each other for a year and a half in person. Now, we would see pictures when Facebook came along. And this is the nice thing about Facebook for our age group, is that it definitely helps us keep up with where the other one is. And I'll see her on Facebook sometimes. I'm like, well, I have that shirt. I have those shoes. I did that recently. I think I'm wearing one of the pairs now, but because it's kind of fun to see that similarity carries across the country. It doesn't matter. We just have very similar tastes, and it's like, hey, it looks like she's having a good time. Yeah. Wish I could have been there, but glad that she's doing well. Now we have text. Yeah. So there's new ways in technology to keep up.
And when we became moms, and even career moms, it for anybody, you're so busy, it's really hard to keep up with family, no matter what. But we definitely wanted to see each other's kids grow up, and we had kids that were the same age, so it was always good to even share experiences. Dad was kind of our advice giver, and so professional advice giver. And in my nuclear world, it became really hard to call him and talk to him about it, because it's really hard to understand for many people not in that industry. But I remember calling him one time because I was crying because whatever work situation, and it was right after graduate school, and I'm like, help, Daddy. And he was like, I can't help you if I don't know which one you are. Yeah. And then I'm like, you don't know your own daughter.
That's good stuff.
It made it even worse.
It did, yeah. And I actually thought that was me. I thought that might have been me, because I called upset so many times.
But our voices are the same.
Our voices are very similar. The kids I can't tell which one is yelling at them.
It wasn't shortly after becoming a single mom that she began to have issues with her keeping jobs. And I think a lot of that has to do with the kind of work she's in, being in the media, being in newspapers, and the way that is changing and evolving was definitely starting to impact her ability to stay in jobs. And she had these high jobs that she had risen to as editors and publishers, kinds of roles that are not easy to come by.
So I'm reaching for my dream and bought a newspaper.
My dad and Cindy were always into they had the same interests. So being a part of the Alabama Press Association, and both of them being a part of either public relations or journalism. My dad teaches journalism at the University of Alabama and has for 18 years.
I had been with my dad going around to different papers as a part of a contract that he had, and been in many newsrooms, and decided I love journalism, and my dad was a journalist when I was a kid, and this is what I'm going to do. I love to write, etc. I've been making my own little newspapers since I was in first grade, second grade. You know, it was a great experience to be there for the community, and they also loved our coverage. Goodness gracious, that was like one of the best parts, is this. And it's not hard, you know, covering a community, covering it in the way that, you know, by being there and knowing the people and taking pictures, but also participating too. They love that, and I love that. I finally felt like I was a part of a community.
The complex that I've been working in for the last 20 years has been focused on either stockpile stewardship and national security or environmental cleanup, because now we have a tremendous amount of waste that's left behind in this beautiful region for us to continue the cleanup and restore back to the communities who live here the environment to which we borrowed for the sake of national security back in 1943. Now I'm a small business owner, so instead of working directly at the site, I have made a mid-career change and decided to start my own woman-owned business And at this point, I've been working with other small businesses, and I support contract, proposal, business development, trying to bring good solutions for good prices, and knowledgeable individuals to help resource the cleanup work. I guess my vision for the new woman-owned business at this point is to continue to use my expertise and my passion in the environmental cleanup world to see how I can help make a difference and continue to bring my good ideas that help create innovations and advance the mission in ways that we as the nation can be proud of. So one thing that Cindy and I both did in our careers was lead people. We both had teams where we were supervisors and made assignments, and we were expected to perform. I would say that makes you kind of in the middle. You have people who expect things of you above, and then of course the people who you're guiding and leading below. And so we would share our experiences from time to time, and the burden that it is when you're in leadership roles. And though we are hard charging, we do care about people. I would say in my marriage, we were together a total of 10 years, and we divorced also. So both Cindy and I divorced and ended up as single moms.
So I was married for 13 years, and I met and married him in 11 months. I don't recommend that at all. Yes, there were red flags. We moved across the country together in 4 months after meeting, and I got trapped. I trapped myself. I was the first one to get pregnant. And I remember how hard it was to even tell her. It seemed like, it was actually a big surprise to me. I had not exactly planned that was when I was going to get pregnant, but I did, and I was in Las Vegas. So we were already far away. But it felt like she almost, didn't want me to have that, as if I got to marry first, so then that means that she should have something of her own, and that would be having the first grandchild, perhaps. But 5 months into that pregnancy, we found out that he didn't have, his brain wasn't developed like it should have. And found out it was a boy. We didn't know what we were having, but we found out we were having a boy, but that he had a very low chance of survival after he was born. And that proved to be true. He didn't live long, and so though he was the first grandchild, he didn't make it through his first day. I think when you lose a child, a lot of relationships get tested through that. I definitely know that we both mourned that loss tremendously, but that in the end, it was really difficult for me to get over the grief. And men and women experience grief differently, and I think that had a lot to do with it. But I was obsessed with becoming a mom. That was the top priority for me. And managing or nurturing the marriage was not as high of a priority as becoming a mom was. Around the same time that I was getting remarried, I guess it was after that, Cindy went through her divorce. Her divorce was different. There was some events within her marriage that made it different than the ending of my marriage, which is not unusual at all. We all have different situations, but it was kind of interesting that now she's a single mom like I just was. And so I think some of that helps that I had the experience. Joni had ended up divorced as well before me, and I remember when she got remarried, Allie was 2, and I remember being so jealous that she got a second chance. I had a hard time with that wedding. She doesn't know that, I don't think. She, in a white dress, got to do it all over again. And this time, for the right reason, I may never get that 7 years later, and many relationships later, but I do think that my kids need me 100% and not to share me. I also met my now ex-husband a month after I was mugged at gunpoint. I was leaving a bar with a friend. It was her birthday, and we were jumped from the bushes by someone, and he got me around the neck like that, and had the gun to my face, and threw us into the bushes back where he was. He took the gun and he started pulling up my skirt, and I instinctually whacked it away. So he pistol whipped me across the face, and then put the gun at my mouth, busted my lip doing it, and then he heard someone and he ran away. And I was with my friend, and both of us came out alive. I was bloodied a little and afraid. I had a PTSD issue for a while after that. A month later, I met my ex. I was guest speaker at a class at UAB in Birmingham, and it was a journalism class, so I was talking about working at the Birmingham Post-Herald, where I worked at the time. And we talked forever after and got along really great, and I just thought, this is it, yay, I'm going to finally get married now. I mean, it was that fast. But I also thought he could be security for me and take care of me. The abuse was there from the beginning, and it started small, you know, a lot of disregard for my feelings when I was sick, lack of empathy, and I never really thought about divorce. I had 2 kids with him. He hated a lot of things, so in that case we didn't have a lot of friends, very isolated, and that worked out good for him, I think. And I left realizing that it was about my kids, it wasn't about me.
And then I was alone here in Washington, but I had a good set of resources at work that allowed me to actually meet someone new. Within the first 3 years of being single or divorced, I met a coworker, and he was 9 years older than me, and so his kids were older too, and so we ended up with, we got married, and my stepson was 16 and my stepdaughter was 20 when we got married, and Christian was 5. And so we became a blended family with young adults, and a high school teenager is who moved in with us, and then my son was only 5 years old and just starting kindergarten. So my husband started all over again, but I knew that by getting married that time I wasn't going to be having any more kids. So I found that I got 2 new kids as a part of the blended family, and then actually about 3 or 4 years later, Jocelyn, our 20-year-old, became a 24-year-old, married, and had a baby. And so I became a nana at 40. And so I found I didn't have to have any of my own kids, because in my new marriage, his kids were having kids, and that was going to bring babies into my life. So Cindy and I take parenting, we're very different parents. We do have different parenting situations as well. I'm in a step-parent relationship with both my stepchildren, but also my husband being a stepdad. And since my son's 14 and still in the house, there's a shared parenting role there, and the co-parenting with my ex-husband is actually pretty smooth. We make a choice, it's always a choice, and so for that is not the same situation for my sister.
No one is hungrier than a single mom. It has to work, because my main job in this world is to turn out good adults.
It's harder for her to communicate with her ex-husband. There's still a lot of resentments there, and And her children saw things and experienced things in that marriage and this co-parenting for that situation for them that is making it really hard for her to parent. You know, my parents live nearby, and so they're very involved, and I know they think they're helping, but I think we all know what that's really like. It's hard to be on the outside, but yet be try to get on the inside and help. So I have felt that for my sister and her parenting and her co-parenting experience. It's been hard.
I also noticed that my kids were not doing well in a large public school, and I was really concerned about that. Not just the education, because the education was fine. It was more they were growing up too fast.
But for me, I would say my 14-year-old is really easygoing. He's very social. He seems to be kind of into the typical things that 14-year-old boys, it used to be Fortnite and gaming and online gaming, and he can have a whole crew online playing with him and gaming with him. Sleepovers, sports. He's even open to playing sports that he knows he's not good at. I would never do that. I would have never played a sport if I didn't think I could have been the best at it. If I wasn't going to go out on the field and be the best one, I wasn't even going to try. And so for that, I think it's really cool. I think he has potential for leadership roles and leading teams if he wanted to because of that. But he is a pretty significant pleaser. He is a really big pleaser, a people pleaser, which is actually more like Cindy than me. I have people pleaser in me too, but not as much as Cindy. There are some interesting cross paths between our kids, and like her daughter, I think, is a lot more like I was. I was a lot more defiant when I was a teenager, and she's a lot more like I was than Cindy was, and my son's a lot more like Cindy was when she was a teen. So somehow or another we got swapped. The stork swapped.
I thought it would be better for my kids to be in a smaller environment where I can pick them up at 3 o'clock every day at school. And I put them in a private school here in Dallas County. You know, education in the South and in the Deep South and in the Black Belt, which is what we are in, named after the soil, education is just a whole nother story that we will talk about later. But I put them in a private school, and there's only, I don't know, 25, 30 kids per class. The entire 8th grade that my son is in, the entire 5th grade has 20-something kids in it. And instead of 7 classes of 25 kids in 2 different hallways, that was Allie's experience in 4th grade. When you have that many kids in one school, it's pretty easy to get lost. And my son was failing a lot of classes and turning into the class clown, which he has a little of that in him still. He was using that and just skating, and I wanted more control over that.
Hey everyone, this is Joni. Thanks for joining us for our first episode. We have so much more to tell you about and adventures to share with you. So we decided to start this joint venture of blogs and video blogs and build a community with you. We have 8 episodes planned for this season of both laughing and crying and sharing and connecting with you.
On the next episode of Twin Talk, we're going to focus on a family divided.
This one's going to be a lot of fun because it is our favorite topic, college football. And this time we're going to introduce you to the rivalry. I went to Alabama.
And I went to Auburn.
And nothing is more fun than identical twins going to rival schools. So enjoy. Make sure to like and subscribe and give us a comment. We want to hear from you.
And you can find us at twinfluencing.com or on Instagram at twin.fluencing. You can also just email us at twinfluencing@gmail.com.
So join us for Twin Talk.